It's time for Dart Talk. Brought to you by TheDartZone.com. Stay in the zone. TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor and Windy City Fabricators, America's premier fabricators of orthotics and prosthetics. And Redwood Darts, America's newest tungsten darts. Stand straight and tall and hit them all. Redwood Darts. And now, here are your hosts, Mystery Mark and Steve P.
Okay, welcome to Dart Talk.
Welcome.
We made it.
How
you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
DartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks for tuning in. It's a Wednesday.
Again.
We're at the Opryland Hotel. Do you know why?
I do not know why.
We're at the Opryland Hotel because the baseball winter meetings are underway. And I spent at least 4 hours yesterday watching everybody jabber and jabber about.
Got a lot of time on your hands, do you?
You know me. Cubs news, right? I was all about, the heartbreak of, Starlin Castro moving on to the Yankees.
I don't know how that's
Media
heartbreak.
is going to. I know you don't. Look, he's a knucklehead, but he's our knucklehead. And literally, I was watching YouTube of the guy when he broke in. What was he, 19 or something?
I think 90% of Cub fans want him gone, though.
But we like him. It's one of those things where you need to do it, but you're kind of sad that you're doing it anyway. You know what I mean? You're moving on. I get it. We're improving the team. We're getting Zobrist, and we got a pitcher that may be good, and some guy to DFA later. So anyway, how was your weekend?
It was all right.
How's Mark's world?
Well, it's nothing interesting out there. How about that?
Okay. I find it interesting that the founder of North Face, which is a clothing company for outdoor stuff,
yes,
like winter stuff and scarves, and people that live in the north part of the country probably see North Face parkas and North Face scarves, and gloves, and everything.
Sure.
The guy went kayaking and died.
Yes,
he drowned in a kayaking accident. I find that
he's 72 years old. It's ironic.
Sad. It's totally ironic. It's like Jim Fixx, who started the running craze in the 70s, having a heart attack from running, which I never bought into, by the way, because I ran track and it was running around with 15 guys gets old.
Right.
I don't understand why people are doing it when they're older and no one's chasing them. Right.
I just have a hard time saying it's newsworthy when the poor man passed away.
Well, how is it not? Okay, so you don't want to cover anything. The only other thing you showed me that was funny was somebody with hand on the dartboard.
It was a 6-second video clip on somebody posted on Facebook. He's got his hand over the bullseye, waiting for the guy to throw a dart at it, and the guy, for some reason, whatever, he couldn't hear what he said, but he looks at the camera behind him, turns and looks at the dartboard, but then turns around and looks at the camera again and throws blind and sticks the guy right in the forearm.
I just, did you ever see?
But the guy's reaction was kind of funny. He just kind of held his hand out, look at the dart stuck in my forearm.
Did you ever see Daredevil, the movie Daredevil?
Yeah.
Do you see where? I think it's Colin Farrell
yes.
plays Bullseye, and he's holding a stein of beer, and he's not even looking at the board, and he throws a dead eye.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. How many times have you, since that movie comes out, every time I'm at a bar with a bunch of people that don't know anything about darts, that's what they want you to do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's a lot.
It's a lot.
Are you serious? Oh my God, I just can't take it. So nothing from Mark's world again this week. We're gonna.
That was it. That was something.
All right. We have a guest because we're supposed to do Newcomer of the Year. Right?
Yes.
And basically, we decided whoever would come on the show, we'd give Newcomer of the Year. I'm just kidding. But we do have a guest waiting in the wings. But before we get to him, I got an interesting email.
Did you talk to all people to see if they would come on, or did you just the first person that said yes, you quit calling?
Well, It wasn't quite like that
Okay.
because actually I had talked to our Newcomer of the Year, and he was going to come on the show like 6 weeks ago, and it didn't. I didn't effort that correctly.
Is this true that the Segway guy went off a cliff on his own invention?
Yeah.
Really? I never heard that.
Yeah, that was a while ago. But see,
Okay.
you find that funny. The irony is what makes it newsworthy. It's like, did you know? Here's the other thing that I found out. This CTE that football players are getting.
Yes.
All right. A football player has a 3 in 10 chance of contracting that disease. A smoker has a 1 in 10 chance of contracting lung cancer.
Wow.
That's how
Right.
hazardous it is.
Yeah.
Somebody tweeted that to me. I forgot.
Of course,
who,
many
but,
more people smoke than play football, but
your odds of getting lung cancer are 1/3.
yeah.
Your odds of getting CTE, which is like, they can't do anything. There's nothing they can do for you.
Right.
So, I mean, I found that somewhat alarming. I think pro football's in huge trouble.
Yeah, I think so,
I can
too.
solve all their problems in literally.
Of course you can.
Well, it's very simple. What you have to do with pro football, you have to slow the game down.
Sure.
If
They
you don't
want
slow
to.
the game down, I don't mean like make the game take longer. I mean make it where people can't collide so fast. So I say get rid of the face mask and get rid of the helmet and start equipping them like rugby players. And you'll solve a lot of problems. Did you watch the Rugby World Final? It was actually, I thought it was
No,
good.
I didn't.
No, I'm not a rugby fan, but you look at these guys, they're dressed up like astronauts. They're all wearing Kevlar, so they feel invincible, and they run as fast as they can and launch themselves into somebody. I mean, I'm not sure what sport that is. Football didn't start out that way.
Right.
You know what I mean? And look what it's evolved into. You got guys, first-round picks are retiring in their second year. I mean, anyway, I like baseball. What was he? Oh, okay. So we got an email from a regular listener.
All right.
So before we bring on our Newcomer of the Year, I wanted to run this by you because he's like, I don't know if you've talked about this in an old show.
Do you want to run the disclaimer first before
Oh.
you do any of this? But
Yeah, right. I have to do that this week, don't
Yes.
I? I hate that. I like when you do it.
The views, opinions, rants, and rampages expressed on Dart Talk do not necessarily reflect individually or collectively those of our sponsors, co-sponsors, wannabe hosts, hearing-impaired critics, or those with a penchant for attitudinal dysfunction. We at Dart Talk strive to provide you, the listener, with an educational, entertaining, and fun-filled experience each and every week. If after the show you, the listener, find yourself feeling uneducated, unentertained, and or bored, we at Dart Talk consider that your own problem.
And, of course, wish you the very best with that. So, like, what have we not talked about? I mean, I wasn't going to go through 300 shows and then, like, send him back, well, here's the show, we talked about it. But he basically, see if I remember this correctly, he's a right-handed player who stands on the left side of the Aki, and he doesn't know whether or not to start moving when he misses 8 to go to 4.
okay.
Okay, so I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, well, I guess that's worth talking about. One of the first questions I faced when I first started playing, like the first 2 months, was when you're playing cricket, do you move over for the 18? Right? Because the 18 is kind of an anomaly as far as like where everything is on the board. You could pretty much stand in the middle, and everything is kind of right there, but the 18's at a weird angle. So do you move over for the 18 or don't you? Right?
Right. Well, sure.
So what do you do?
I don't move at all.
Right. All
I-
movement is
the-
bad.
well,
I think that's
I-
always
I
been
guess
our mantra
I
for the show.
I
but-
shouldn't say that I don't move at all. You move at the hips. You slightly turn your torso a little bit towards what you're aiming at. You know, if you're all square at the 20s, you gotta move a little bit to the 18s.
Right.
You gotta kind of dip down to the 19s a little bit.
Right.
That's the movement, and then so if you're comfortable with this guy throwing all the way at the left side for your 20s and everything else, and you miss the 8, but if you're throwing the triple 18s or 18s from that spot, you should be able to hit the 4 from that spot.
Yeah. I mean, I used to get. There was a period of time, I think I'd been playing about a year and a half, when I started blocking like the 19 and the 17, like I would block myself
Mm-hmm.
and then try to move to get a better angle when I was playing cricket.
Right.
Try to jam them in there. And I've seen like experienced players, soft tip guys, with no hesitation, kind of walk the line to get their triples in, depending on, how things are laying in the board and stuff. As a general rule, though, like for me, I don't see any value to moving.
Right. I agree with you. I will move. You do move timer. If you're throwing 3 darts at the same spot, if you're going to diddle and the guy chucks a bullseye right on the wire and the dart bends like this, you're not going to stand right in the middle where you normally do. You're going to have to move over to miss the dart.
I used to move over to the right to throw at the double 16.
Okay.
I did that for
Right.
a period of time because for some reason I felt like I wasn't lined up correctly, and probably what it was my arm was tilted a little bit. And then to compensate for that, I moved over a little bit to the right. As a general rule, though, if you're actually somebody who practices,
Mm-hmm.
the real question is, well, if you have to move over, like you missed the double 8 and now you're going for the double 4, so you're going to do a total reset out of rhythm.
Well, you haven't been practicing the double 4 from that spot.
Well, I would
Basically.
assume that you have, that you're just it's further away,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you're talking about getting closer to it. So you want to move over to the right? I don't know why you're standing on the left anyway. I mean, Colin Lloyd does it. It's not real common for a right-hander to stand on the left.
Mm-hmm.
If you're standing on the left, so your shoulder is centered on the bullseye, then I don't see why you would need to move.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Or is he standing further left than that?
Well, he says he
Yeah.
stands on the left. So the real question that I have here is like, if you're going to move for that, then you're probably going to move for other stuff. See, I think of somebody like Darren Young. Darren Young stands on the left, but he's a lefty,
Mm-hmm.
and his I very seldom see him miss double 12, and very seldom see him set up double 18.
Okay. Right.
So because he's tall, he sets up tops every chance he gets,
Mm-hmm.
right? So as a player, if you work it back, if you're going to be a tops thrower, right, then you should be pretty much in the middle of the board, because you're going to have to go to the 10 next and to the 5 next. You're going to move. If you're a left player throwing for tops, then what are you going to do? Now you're going to move over to go throw it at the 10? It just seems like a nightmare to me.
Yeah, I would
Do something
agree.
like that.
Well, plus, like you just said, the whole movement aspect of it, you have to reset and get everything back into the same position that it was, and fluidly at the same. It's not like you're taking 2 minutes in between darts to sit there and get set up. You're moving and you're throwing and you're moving and you're throwing.
There's reasons to move, but from the email, it sounded to me like he was trying to make it part of his plan,
Mm-hmm.
that he was always going to move over when he was on 16. If he singled the
missed.
8, he was going
Right.
to move over every time to shoot at the 4, and I'm just like, no. I wouldn't recommend something like that.
wouldn't
I don't think a right-hander should be way left. A right-hander should be way over on the right. If you're trying to create an
but if
angle.
he's going to stay there, you would recommend practicing the double 4 from that spot.
Yeah.
Practicing sitting there at 16s, and every time you hit a single 8, throw it a double 4 and practice that, and just get used to it from that.
Yeah, I mean, all movement is bad. There's times where you have no choice.
Because
but
essentially, if your follow-through is good, you're going to be able to get used to the follow-through all the way to the double 4 the same way as the double 8.
yeah, it shouldn't matter.
I mean, you're following through to your target. So if you get used to, if he's short-arming everything at the double 4, well, he could short-arm it by moving over. It's...
I mean, I don't really see...
The length of distance shouldn't matter.
I see no advantage whatsoever to making that a plan, that you're going to move every
Right.
time. I never did it for cricket. I was like, well, I'm not going to move over for the 18. I mean, I've moved over, like throwing it a double where I've got one on the wire and I want to use it.
Yeah.
So, you get a little better angle and maybe you could slap it in off the barrel. I mean, I could see moving for something like that. But if you're actually going to plan on moving every time this comes up, I'm just like,
when I first started playing,
I can't believe that.
When I first started playing steel, I moved all the time.
Did you?
Yeah, single 20. I moved for 19s, moved for 18s, whatever.
So you're always throwing from a different spot.
Yeah, and then but and I was okay, but until I got it in my head just to stay in the same spot and practice from the same spot, I got better.
Where are we on time?
We're close.
I cannot make an argument for moving all the time. I can't make an argument for making that like the way you go about finishing, because then it's never going to stop. Suppose you're going to practice all your finishes and you're going to go from 80 to 120, which involves, hitting different triples other than the 20 and, this, that. And the way I do it is you're not allowed to do it the same way twice. So if I'm on 81 and I almost invariably go for the 19 on 81.
Okay.
But then if I miss, then I go for the 15, right? And then if I miss that, then I go back to the 19. So I'm making myself try different things.
Sure.
Just so you don't kind of just groove it in. I mean, obviously, some kind of only one way to do it, but I just sort of I can't see why I can't really see any advantage unless you're going to move all the time and you're going to get as close to your target as you can.
Right.
And I just can't imagine what that would be like. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like I said,
you're going to move.
I used to think it worked because I was somewhat successful doing it, but after a while, I realized, talking to people, and then you kind of change. You try and you work on it a different way and just staying in the same spot. And you practice enough, and you realize, that moving thing just kind of it could throw you off just enough, as opposed to being able to miss a dart and not move and know where you're supposed to go with the next one if you hit the single instead of the triple, as opposed to hitting the single and then going, okay, now I got to move over here. Now I got to move over here. Yeah, it doesn't work as well.
I don't think it does. I can't think of, I'm thinking of PDC players and stuff. I mean,
I've seen a few people move, but yeah,
just the sheer act of stopping, I think, is a bad thing.
Right.
To get out of your rhythm and have to start cold.
Oh, sure.
With one dart in your hand.
Yeah. Well,
I can't imagine that being
it's the same concept of going up there and knowing you're throwing 3 darts at the triple 19 and throw your first one and you stop to look to see if it's in.
Well, that's one of your pet peeves.
Yeah, it's like, why would you do that? But, the same thing. Well, you're stopping, and now you got to set yourself up. So same thing as moving across the line. You have to completely, because if you have to, you want the same setup, you want the same arm angle, you want the same follow through.
You want the same rhythm too.
If you're going to move,
everything's grinding to a halt.
Getting yourself back into that same thing consistently to be good is very difficult.
How many times have you seen a pitcher on the mound? Like there's a guy on first base, right? And he steps with his back foot. He steps off the mound and then kind of resets, right? Invariably, I think if you calculate what his strike rate is after doing that, I'll bet you it's not good.
Sure.
I'll bet you it's below what he normally does.
That's why you want to do that. You want to disrupt early. A pitcher that's throwing well says, give me the ball, and then keeps throwing, and it doesn't matter what's around him.
That was one of the hardest parts of catching, is making sure I got the ball to the pitcher quick, right? Because I used to do stuff, fake throws and stuff like that. And this one pitcher I knew just hated it. He yelled at me once. He's like, just give me the ball. Stop showing off. Daring guys to run and stuff once I can make the throw to second. Well, we're got to be way over.
We're ready.
Oh, great. Okay, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with Dart Talk's 2015 Newcomer of the Year. We'll be right back.
Dart Talk agrees to adhere to the Geneva Convention in treating fairly its prisoners in their war against lackluster darting administration and behaviour.
Okay, back for the second quarter of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart
Stay in the
Zone.
zone.
The DartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. See, now that I'm doing the music, did you notice that it was longer?
Yes.
Like it's edited out on the copy I gave you. So before the show, when I'm setting up the music, I was like, why did I cut
No, it's
that?
not edited out. I drone it down.
No, that part's not on it. If you look at the see, it's 23 seconds.
Yeah.
I think I shortened it for you.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I don't know. I thought that was good because I noticed our music directors in the chat room.
Plus, it's different
that
though
was
because
a
actually,
way to compliment
well,
him,
the second one is 3, and the third one is 7, and the fourth one is 9. But you have it in a different format.
Well, yeah, because I found some other bumpers that I don't
Right.
remember the last time we used them. So because mine's not set up like yours. So
Right.
Nobody cares about the process of the show. Anyway, hi to Jeff Dotson, our musical director. I see him in the chat room. Before we bring on our newcomer of the year, there's two
Couple
interesting
takes. Couple takes on
yeah,
it.
couple takes.
One guest says, like a tank, it's on the ground. Only the turret moves to shoot.
Now, see, that's what I do.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need a new defilade and you got to move the tank. But generally, that's
Right, for the most part.
that's. I like that.
We're not saying you're never going to move it to line.
No, but I like that visual
Right.
of a tank and a turret.
Yeah.
I like that.
Concerning moving on the line, parallax is different for different folks depending on eye dominance and which-handed you are, among other things. Keeping your eye on the board when possible as you move for adjustments is the key.
And that's hard to do.
Because almost everybody's going to look down at their feet as they move over.
Because they don't have an Aki.
Yeah.
See, and that's the thing that like these experienced soft tip guys I see walk the line, I don't know how they know unless they're just used to like moving their foot parallel without going over the line. I don't know how they know, because they're standing on tape. You go to these soft tip tournaments, they just lay down tape and it's like there's your line. Soft tip players don't really use an Aki.
Right.
Which, by the way, Jill has been after me to review this Aki. So remind me if we get time at the end of the show,
Okay.
we'll do that.
Which we reviewed.
Well, we
many
sort of
moons
did,
ago.
but I really like it.
Yeah,
It's working great. So and give a shout-out to Aki's or Russ later in the show,
All right.
I guess. Our newcomer of the year, I don't know that much about, so we'll have to grill him.
Okay.
From what I understand, James Kinney is from Mansfield, Ohio, which I just spent like a weekend in Mansfield. I
Where is
believe
Mansfield?
Mansfield's kind of in the middle of Ohio, pretty much central Ohio. It's close to the Amish country. So I believe this guy commutes to work in a horse and buggy and wears
Nice.
the simple clothes, right?
Yeah.
His great-grandfather founded Kinney Shoes, so he's like, wildly wealthy, and apparently took up darts this year and almost won one of the CDC things. This is what I heard. If it's wrong, we'll have to ask him to show us the error of our ways. Yeah, we'll have to clarify that. James, you with us?
I am with you.
Well, welcome to the show. Say hi, Mark.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me here.
Hello.
Great. So did we get the background information correct?
The only part you got right was the CDC files.
Oh, really? You're a different James Kinney. See, when you Google people, you're not.
Definitely
Yeah,
a different James Kinney.
Yeah. Okay.
You never know what you're going to get.
Well,
so you're
yeah.
not extremely wealthy. Is that what you tried to say?
That is exactly. I wish I had that Kinney shoe well.
do you live in Mansfield, Ohio?
No, I actually live in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Do you visit Mansfield, Ohio at all?
Yes, I have some friends in Mansfield, Ohio,
Okay.
and we play darts there on occasion. Yeah.
Oh, do you? My mom's from Shelby. So I was actually telling the truth. I used to go to Mansfield every summer.
Are you born and raised in Columbus?
No, I was actually born in Naples, Italy, but I've been in Columbus since 1978.
So does that make you
A Buckeye fan?
a Neapolitan or a Naples?
No.
How does that work if you're born in Naples?
Well, I don't know how to do it in English because it's actually Napoli in Italian. But I'm.
I thought he was talking
also,
Naples, Florida.
No, exactly.
No, I actually, I kind of figured he was Italian when he said that there was no Chianti that they would make a box wine out of.
Okay.
So, one thing I remember him saying.
Yeah, I'm kind of a wine snob. Yeah.
Let me put your picture up so people can see what you look like, and we can continue here, James.
Okay.
Tell us, give us the Match.com version of yourself there. There it is.
Well, I basically started playing in the late 80s. Got tournament experience through the early 90s, and then stopped playing tournament darts and traveling in darts. My ex-wife was pregnant with our second, and I decided it was time to, make a change, be a dad, that kind of a thing, instead of being gone all the time. And it was always the premise that I was going to come back and play, once the kids were grown and gone and doing their own thing. Well, it just so happens the kids are grown and gone and they're doing their own thing, and I got back into playing darts. I've been playing leagues on and off, but there'd be stretches of time in those 20 years where I wouldn't pick up a dart for a year. But I've never ever was really away from it. I knew that once I got excited about playing again, that I would do it again, and that happened last year.
What kind of tournament results did you get back in the 80s and 90s?
I left at probably my highest point. I left, I did the ADO brute force attack thing back then. I just hit a bunch of tournaments, and gained points in it. But when I stopped, I was ranked 7th in points and 8th on the money list back then. That would be 1993, I think. Yeah.
So then you were button heads. I'm trying to think who was around then. That was Mitch Payton in his heyday, I'm thinking.
Yes, Larry Butler in his heyday.
Okay.
Larry Butler was the big one. So Larry Butler, you're gonna see a guy come out of Dayton that's a good player that was doing well. Timmy Nickel back then. There was a lot of good players back then.
I'm hearing. I remember talking to Jay Tomlinson about this, and he said that there were like $50,000 tournaments left and right back then. Were you playing during? Was it the Lucky Strike or?
Yeah, I was playing during the Lucky Strike. Yeah, and
okay.
those tournaments were there. It was really like that. It's coming back to darts now, and for just the lack of a better term, those normal tournaments. It seems like it's digressed more than improved.
Digressed in terms of the prize money, I'm thinking. Are you thinking the quality of play is less?
No, actually, I think the quality of play is better. I think there's a couple reasons why. One, there's a lot more people playing than I think back then. Back then, I could walk into a dart tournament for a weekend, and it's not a $50,000 tournament. Let's say a $15,000 or $20,000 tournament. I could look around the room, and I got to worry about you, and you, and that's it. And nowadays, you just simply can't do that. You've got a ton of people that are capable of throwing darts. I think the quality of play has improved. Another reason why is because back then we were using round wires and staples. Now we've got these razor blade wires and no staples. And I heard somebody say at one point the triples and doubles are like 18% bigger. Well, you're gonna get improvement of play if you increase the size of the target.
Yeah, the technology, I think, using longer points.
What's digressed then?
The availability for those big money tournaments that are out there, it just seems. I guess digress is the wrong word. Here, let me put it to you a different way. We still have the tournaments that have the same basic structure that we did, 30 years ago. $10,000 tournament back then is the same as a $10,000 tournament now. We pay the same money for entry fees. We get the same money back, but the cost of everything else to do a dart tournament's gone up. And I don't know, and unfortunately, I've been gone for so long, I don't understand, what's gone on through the years. It's the same with blind draws. Your local blind draw, it's been $5 since 1980.
Yeah, it's so funny. I remember there's one bar in Chicago that's had Friday night steel blind draws for decades, and they decided to up the entry fee to $10. And I remember people screaming and yelling.
Really?
And I was like,
Yeah.
it's $5. I've played.
Everybody goes crazy. I don't
know.
understand
And
why.
it's like, seriously, I mean, I've been there for 4.5 hours, and I'm going to barely break even if I win. At least now, if you double the prize money, at least now I'll have, have a little change in my pocket.
I was thinking about that earlier. I would go to a blind draw, and 1986, we had won. We had a lot more people playing in Columbus back then, or 87. We had a lot more people playing back then. But I could go to a blind draw, and we would have a blind draw on a singles afterward. I would spend $5 on a blind draw, and if I won the blind draw, I paid for the night, and I put food on the table for a week. And
For a week?
That's an exaggeration.
Well,
I put food on the table for a while. I walked away with money. Now it doesn't even pay the tab.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
it's, travel's a lot more, airfare's more, the hotels are more
Exactly.
expensive, food's more. I mean, did you see gas prices was like $1.71?
Yeah.
When was the
I
last
saw it
time gas
like
was
a
that low?
$1.84 is the lowest I saw it. But
It'll go back up, of course, but I was thinking when I first started driving, it was like $1.26 a gallon.
Mm-hmm.
It's about as low as I've seen it in I don't know when. Well, how on earth can that happen? I don't know.
Obama's doing something right.
Yeah, blame it on Obama.
Yeah.
I thought this was a no politics show.
Oh, I stay away
That
from
was it.
politics. Believe me, I try as hard as I can. Where are we on time?
We got a couple minutes.
Okay.
I do have a question. When you take time off, like you don't throw darts for a year, how long does it take you to get back into it? Like where you feel that you're even close from, and how much practice time and all that stuff.
I always say I'm never really more than 3 months away from my game if I really put the time into it. But yeah, you gotta want to do it. You can't just go up to a dartboard and just start whacking at the dartboard away and not really think about what you're doing. You have to have a purpose to it. So, but I've always said that I've never been more than 3 months away from my game. I think I've proven it. I think every time after I've waited that long period of time, where I said, okay, well I'm going to come back and play league in the fall. In the summer, I'm going to start playing. And in the first week, I'll play a little bit, and I'll increase it as I go because you get that arm stiffness that you got to work out and all those other things. And by the time I get to league play, I'm usually ready.
What kind of leagues do you play in?
Well, right now I'm only playing in one. We have our Columbus Premier League, and I've seen now that a lot of different cities have these where it's a singles league. We're trying to get it into a little more longer format. A little bit of a money league. That's my main. That's the league I'm playing right now. It's the only league I've played in the last year. I've done a soft tip league with a couple of friends, just because I want to learn about that experience after being out and seeing what soft tip is out there. Kind of learn that and try and understand what that is and learn more about that. So I've done a soft tip league. That was a fun time.
Okay, where are we on time?
We're due for a break.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and believe me, it'll be quick. And then I want to come back and ask you, we were talking earlier about moving and stuff like that. I wanted to get your take on that.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, we're talking with James Kinney, Newcomer of the Year. You're listening to Dart Talk. We'll be back in a minute.
You are now and forevermore warned that you consume this show at your own risk, and that Dart Talk cannot be brought to justice in any court or by any government, including and not restricted to the Grand Spaghetti Monster of the Triple 20.
Okay, back for the second half of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official console distributor. We still have James Kinney with us. There was a question in the chat room. What was it? They want to know what he's using.
What kind of darts does he use?
Yeah, real quick, give us a rundown on your equipment, James.
I use a Hades 2, 20 gram with L-style champagne sea flight shaft.
So that's a monster barrel?
Yes, monster barrel.
Is that a straight barrel? Is it like a torpedo or
torpedo? It's torpedo shape.
Is it front loaded?
No.
Okay. What kind of points are they convertible?
No, not convertible. It's just straight steel dart. The points that have the points that actually Phil uses, they have the grooves crossed in them all the way down.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea what they're called. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Was there any other questions in the chat room? Because now I forgot where we left off.
No, you wanted to ask him about the movement at the line.
Oh, yeah. So I'm trying to remember. I don't remember you really moving at all, like as far as like when you're doing finishes and stuff.
I'm pretty much a tank and turret kind of guy as well.
I like that analogy.
I do too, yeah.
I kind of like. I'm not big enough to be a tank, but I can.
It's the perfect statement.
Yeah, I can grow into that. Okay, so as far as the longer format goes, I got the impression you were pretty excited about the CDC tournaments that were held this year.
Yeah, actually, that was one of the things that really brought me into playing tournaments this year. When I found out about the CDC, what they were doing, and having tour cards, and the format and the way it was set up. Not only the long format of 01, the fact that I prefer 01, but the long format, but the way it was structured and how they handle brackets and qualifiers, and it got me almost instantly excited into playing.
So I take it then you don't like the whole 6 events in one day kind of tournament?
I really short format. Honestly, I don't understand why we have so many events over such a long period of time. Shorten them up, make them longer play. I think there should be seeding in terms of. You have to understand, when it comes to that type of tournament, I'm fairly immature. I've only done 4 of them in a year, and I haven't been involved in tournaments in a long time. So I still don't know. I still don't have a lot of the nuances. But yeah, I mean, sure, I would love to see it where we have seeded players, and then have everybody else trying to get to those seeded players in regular tournaments, 01 cricket and in doubles. If you've got 16 seeded players in the thing, you're paying top 32 or top 16, top 32 in an event. You're seeding half the players, and you're letting the rest of the field fill the spot.
Yeah, I think it's more along the lines of the tournament organizers trying to help the amateurs. That's why you see these hometown brackets that a lot of the pros complain about, and somebody can go to their bar the next week and say, hey, I was in the money here and there and stuff like that. If you actually did seed the field, the likelihood of an amateur getting into the money would be much harder.
Yeah, but I had actually got into a conversation with this dart thrower a little bit back earlier this year, and he said that he hates the way that the tournaments cater to the professional and better players. And I just kind of was confused. I'm like, wait, what?
I don't see any catering going on.
I don't either.
Maybe I'm not good enough to get
format,
catered to.
Anybody
but
can play anybody. I was stunned, actually. Quite stunned.
Well, and that's kind of one of the things that you notice when you start going to a lot of tournaments, and I like to talk to people, and because I smoke, I'm outside and I talk to, everybody who smokes, and the vast majority of them are, locals and amateurs and stuff, and their take on things and the way they look at things is so kind of pigeonholed because they don't go to many other tournaments. This is the only tournament they go to, and so their perceptions are kind of they don't have a big picture view, right? It's just a matter of their tournament and their guys. And
well, that from that aspect, what's going to change when all of a sudden you just go to a less events in long format, and these people that you're relying on are all of a sudden going to be like, well, wait a minute, because since they don't know what's going on around
that's
the country,
the fear. The fear is that you're going to lose the locals.
They're going to be like, well, wait a minute.
When we first started the show, we did an episode about the ideal dart tournament, and it was modeled after Le Scratch, which is kind of a normal Canadian tournament where they have a Saturday round robin, and the results from that seed you into the knockout on Sunday. It was the most fun I ever had at a tournament, and I played a lot, and I still had time off to go see downtown Montreal on Saturday night. I thought it was great. I think we played 35 legs of 01 in the round robin. So what is that? 5 against 7? Mm-hmm. Right. So you're in a group of 8. You play 5 legs of 01 against everybody in your group, and then that seeds you into the main money or the consolation on Sunday. And, nobody wants to do that here.
Well, I think it's just fear. Again, I think it's they don't want to lose that base. I think you're right. They feel that if they throw any changes out there that's way outside of the box, that they're just not going to come.
Well, yeah, and their margins, I think, for some of these tournaments is awfully thin. Where to my mind, if you're putting on a dart tournament and it's make or break whether 5 people show up, you should seriously consider why you're putting on a tournament. I mean,
I agree.
Some leagues it's kind of a tradition, and you want to keep it going. But like the Ray Chesney, they're not doing this year. I'm not sure why. They've got some sort of replacement CDC event going. You're tuned into the CDC. You have any idea what they've got planned for 2016?
I have all kinds of ideas of what they have planned, but actually the Greater Philadelphia Open, which is the tournament that's replacing, is a $10,000 tournament on that same weekend in place of the Ray Chesney as they try to scramble to get it back to where they want it to be. And the CDC is coming in front of that, which is interesting. That's actually probably one of the coolest things that's happening with the CDC right now. They are having a Q school qualifying for tour cards. But not only getting your tour card, with these events, based on how many people get in, the tour card holders will also win entry fees into some of those events. Now, I think you've had a tour card, so you know the entry fee for an event one day is 2 days, 2 events. One day is $200. The winner of this Q school in Philadelphia is going to get $1,600 worth of events paid. All 8 events.
Well, I never saw my tour card.
No?
No, I never actually.
I think it's more conceptual.
Yeah, well, they told me that I was actually going to get one, and I made room in my wallet and everything, and there's still this empty slot, so I was a little disappointed by that. But I kind of had to stop playing anyway. So.
Yeah, well, they had a list of priorities, and having tour cards for everybody was one of them. I think it just was a little bit lower down the list of priorities.
Yeah, well, that's okay. So have they announced, what have they announced for next year?
So what we've got going is, we've got the Q School. That's the only announced date. They're planning on having more. We've got, they're adding a youth event, which is kind of cool. The youth event, their end goal really with the youth event is to try and have them sent over to the PDC Youth Championships. So they're working on having a youth event. As far as the main structure is gone, it's pretty much the same as it was before. It's still going to be Midwest based. We've got the dates. The dates are going to be exactly like it was before. They're basically going to start in May, and the end of May, and you're going to have a weekend about every third week with a CDC match play in the middle for the top 32. That's an invitational, no entry fee, and the Continental Cup at the end of the season. That's also an invitational, top 16.
Did they announce? Did they announce a date for the Continental Cup?
No, they have. Actually, let me check.
Because I have a feeling I'm not going to be able to make it.
September 24th and 25th.
Oh,
Sweet.
Hey, how about
The
that?
weekend after.
They missed it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe I may try to qualify for some of these. They haven't sent me any tour cards, so I guess I'm out on that. But I may show up and try to qualify. I think qualifying's better. Anyway.
Oh, well, I would think it gives you an advantage. We have 32 tour card holders currently. So we're going to add qualifiers with, like I said, the 4 or 5 Q School events, which we hope will give us anywhere between 20 and 24 more. And then there's going to be a few probably cards that are offered out. That'll give us our base for tour card holders. But yeah, if you don't already have your tour card, this is what you want to do. You want to go to Q School.
I want to go to Q School because
you want to
see. It seems to me I would rather not have a card. I would rather just show up and qualify. It seemed like the qualifying was better because you get warm-up matches before the main event.
That's kind of a personal preference thing, but you have to understand once you get into the top 32 and you make the CDC match play, your only option is to take a tour card because the CDC match play is only for tour card holders.
And when is the match play? Is that
That's
new?
That'll be in between events 2 and 3.
Is that the one that they had? Where did they have it? Nashville last year?
Yeah, that's right. That's the one that I believe David Fathom got that one.
Right. I think we had him on the show after that. It seems like a long time ago.
Apparently, the CDC Facebook page has the most updated info on Q School.
I refuse to go on Facebook. If it's not on a website, then I'll get it from somebody else.
Well, they have a website, but it's not as up to date as their Facebook right now.
Yeah, I don't get that. I guess I used to be on Facebook all the time, and it just got to be too crazy. There's all these ads. They keep changing the way Facebook operates and stuff. People are arguing and being nasty to each other. I mean, I checked it out a couple weeks ago, and after about 5 minutes, I actually posted something. I'm like, when did it get so nasty?
Do you you seem pretty excited about the CDC events this year? Do you talk to the other players that have tour cards and get a sense of excitement between everybody about how this next year is going to go, being the second year of this endeavor?
We're all yes, I have, and we're all very excited. Most of the people that I've talked to are very excited. It worked out. When you see something like this, and we had a little bit of a rough start at the beginning on structure, on how long it took for things to happen and things like that. But the guys that run it, they did such a great job of listening to the players and making improvements throughout the year that by the end, we were really, really pleased with I was really pleased with the end result. I tell everybody that, and it seems like we've got a snowball rolling right now where we've got a lot of other people that are interested in doing it. So with using just the word of mouth and using the Q School, I think we're going to have a banner year this year. I really do.
Yeah, I thought that the second year was going to be very good. There were a lot of guys that seemed to me kind of sitting on the fence, waiting to see, what was going to happen, whether it was going to fold, and I didn't really get that kind of thinking. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like, hey, it's a dart tournament. You go to dart tournaments, you're a dart player. What's your problem? Right. But whenever there's something new in the dart community, there seems to be this automatic let's see what happens with this kind of thing. And I kind of get where people are going with that. But the guys that were running it and stuff, I got to tell you, I only went to one, but I had a lot of fun because you had time to talk to people. And most tournaments that you go to where you're running from event to event, you got 6 events on Saturday and 3 on Sunday and 3 on Friday. You don't really have a chance to talk to anybody. Whoever you came with and drove with, you hang out with.
A circle of 4.
Yeah, and if you get knocked out early, you end up going to eat, right? Because you don't know if you're going to have time to eat later and stuff like that. Whereas this one was like, well, we had some extra time to kill too because it didn't start on time. But it was I talked to, I don't know, 5 people that normally I only say hello to, and I got like an hour of war stories out of Roger Carter and stuff like that. I mean, it was fun. Yeah. And I went back after I played miserably, but I was still in a good mood. Usually if I play miserably, I beat myself up on the drive home. Right. But this one worked out pretty good. I got the.
Well, and you remember too that it's also long format 01, and it's not small money. It's a $10,000 singles tournament. 8 of them over the course of 4 weekends. That's gonna bring out once people started realizing, no, this isn't just some thing that's gonna fold or disappear or whatever. Once they started hearing that after the fact, the Continental Cup was a $10,000 tournament, no entry fee for the top 16 players. And once all of that started happening, that started generating some noise. So you put that all together, and there's some excitement going on.
Yeah, I would think that the next step would be somehow getting spectators. I heard in, I think it was in St. Louis, you guys had some sort of Calcutta going, and everybody was having a grand old time.
Yeah, it was St. Louis was that Continental Cup. St. Louis, that was a blast. I mean, it was done really, really well. They played one match at a time. They were scheduled matches, videotaped. It was a little bit different in the environment because we were in the Pac-Man room. So we were just two darters, a bunch of cameras, a scorer, and it was interesting. But no, we had a blast. That was a fun tournament.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, James. Stay with us, please, and everyone else will be back. This will be a quick break. You listen to Dart Talk with Mystery Mark, Steve Ponzielman, Newcomer of the Year 2015, James Kinney. We'll be right back.
The views and opinions expressed on Dart Talk are those of the hosts. They in no way should be misrepresented, misinterpreted, or made to claim that the universe is against you, your family, your city, or the darting community at large.
Okay, back for the last segment of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. That's still my favorite bumper, Jeff. We got to get together again someday. We have James Kinney, our Newcomer of the Year, with us. Where did we leave off with James? Do you remember what we were talking about? He was talking about the CDC.
Well, we got done with talking about the CDC and the excitement for next year. And
right. There was one thing in the chat about what did he say? People need to get the leagues involved to run qualifiers, stuff like that.
He says he thinks his opinion is to get leagues involved and have people run qualifiers, special tourneys, and things to get interested shooters used to the format and structure of this type of tourney, which goes to back to what we're saying is if you run things like that, you have a better chance of not losing the locals.
Yeah.
As opposed to,
I mean, these
it's hard to do, though.
Well, these leagues that are running Premier Leagues could easily do something like this, where, put your money together and send your top guy to one of these things, or send your top two guys so they don't have to travel alone, something like that.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty easy. I think the hardest thing that the CDC is gonna have is direct communication with all these leagues scattered about. Get the contact name, figure out who to talk to. It's very time consuming to get a hold of everybody like that. So I don't know. Be interesting to see how far they go with that. Okay, so where were we with James now? We were talking about St. Louis, I think, James.
Yeah.
Okay. Was that the one you won or the one you made the final?
No, I made the final in the seventh event.
The seventh event. So that was the last weekend Where was
the last weekend?
Where was that one held?
Oh boy, it was such a blur.
You don't drink when you play, do you?
I do. I didn't drink when I played in the '80s. I do actually drink it when I play now.
Do you notice any difference?
Yes.
What do you know? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just more relaxed. I mean, it's funny how it's me and a buddy of mine. We say we disconnect the head from the arm, and it's really what it is. It's getting yourself to that point where you're not thinking about anything. I mean, you talked about this, having that swing thought in golf. When you go to the line, you should have one swing thought, and that's it.
Well,
but when you're in competition, you shouldn't have any swing thought. When you're in competition, you should only be thinking about lining up the shot and hitting it. And I think that's what alcohol does for me, and it transitions me to that point where I'm not having that one swing thought creep in there, because for me it's detrimental. I get that swing thought in my head, and I lose focus on what I'm there to do. And that's really the adjustment that it's done for me.
Yeah, the golf swing takes longer and has moving parts and stuff like that. When it comes to darts, if anybody thinks about like a good shot or like a good round they had, they weren't thinking. Right? It was automatic. It was like, trip 19, trip 17, double bull, or, whatever, fat 20, triple this, double that. I mean,
do you ever get to the point, though, where the alcohol might be taking over and you have to figure out?
Only when I'm in an unfortunate situation where it's like 4 a.m. in Tennessee and I made the mistake of playing the blind draw.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
blind
at that
draw,
point, it doesn't really matter as much.
I don't know. That's
exactly.
It's kind of funny, when I first started, I was playing with somebody who played every single event. So I played Friday night blind draws and Saturday night blind draws for like the first year and a half. And then I started noticing, hey, where's this guy? Where's that guy? And I asked one, you don't play the Friday night draw. You're going to be too tired for Saturday.
Right.
Saturdays, it's kind of funny how, playing all those events, I mean, it started really wearing me out. It got stupid. And then, you're waiting at the board because when you're playing with amateurs, you have to put up with amateur behavior, like somebody who's half hour late to the board, or somebody who doesn't want to chalker, or somebody who doesn't know how to chalk, or, all the things that we take for granted as like, accomplished players. When you don't know what you're going to get when you go to a tournament. You may be the nicest person in the world. I've met fantastic people at blind draws, but they don't know what to throw at, or they don't know it's their turn, or the fist bumps, or what. I mean, there's always something that you can get cranky about if it's 4 a.m. and you've.
Sure.
Yeah, that's my most recently learned lesson. Don't play the blind draws.
Well, I'll play some of them. I mean, I kind of do it where it's like let's say it's Friday and I got knocked out early in the pro singles, which happened a lot the last year I played, and I'm like, I need some board time. So rather than throw on the headphones and then play on a board till somebody shows up, I'll just play the draw. And not worry about it, and generally,
it's competition.
Generally, it's still you trying to hit something, and to be honest, as much as like the locals say that tournaments cater to the pros, some of the blind draws they need the entry fees, right, to break even for the weekend. I mean the way the hotels are really
gouging.
The dart tournaments are just sort of part of the reason that they haven't grown. That was one of the things about the CDC I thought was smart, was having them in like, I don't know where we were in outside of Dayton. Was it Elks Hall or something? Or
no, it was a VFW, I think.
A VFW. And, VFWs, they've had leagues. Was it John Frank is a Moose? The Moose has their own leagues, right? And in Chicago, they used to have the finals at a Moose Lodge. That made perfect sense to me, right? The Moose gets all these people coming in, and they don't gouge you on anything,
right?
And it's win-win, right? And now we're so out of venues, they want to keep supporting the same dive bars that I refuse to walk into.
You're right.
It's like, well, okay, fine. So I thought that was a smart thing the CDC did. You know,
and
as far as
continue to see that. You'll continue to see that through next year.
that they're going to be off-site.
Yeah, more than likely they'll be off-site. It's a working format. You'll probably see some site changes, but it'll definitely. I got to believe it's going to be that way. It worked so well the last time. I mean, look at the benefit of the players that are there. You know, you're in a VFW. How much are you spending for a beer?
Yeah, I mean, it's you know,
it benefits everyone.
And that was one of the things I think I remember talking, you know, one of the problems that, you know, for people that go to a lot of tournaments is how do you make it cheaper for the players? You know, especially the ones that are already shelling out for airfare.
Right.
Because,
right.
I mean, that makes it hard. If you're flying somewhere and you're getting a hotel room, that was the thing Fathom would say. He's like, I'm not going to spend $650 to make $800, right? Which is kind of a realistic, okay, you know, 3 top 4s. And a top 16 is $800. It's going to cost me $650 to go. Really? You know, so that kind of logic made sense to me.
Sure.
So down logic.
Yeah. So outside of playing in the CDC stuff and your like premier type singles league, what do you got planned for next year?
Well, my goal, if I can swing. I travel and work as well, so it's very difficult. But my goal is 30 tournaments.
Wow.
30 whole tournaments?
What?
Well,
30 tournaments in 52 weeks?
Well, you have to understand, right out of the gates, 10 of them are gone. That's CDC.
Oh, there's
10 of them are just CDC long format. Actually, they're talking about adding a third invitational to the CDC. There's some talks about that too. So that might be an 11th gone for me. So that cuts it down. And 30 is ambitious. But I'm already booked for Philadelphia. I'm already booked for what's after Philadelphia? Oh, Vegas. Let's not forget Vegas. And then we got the 3 big ones that are all in February. Virginia Beach is in March. So I'm into March, and before I hit the 11 tournaments for the CDC, I've already got 7 down. So that's 18.
Philly, Vegas, Huntsville, Syracuse.
Do you get to play in a dart tournament while working? You said you travel for work. Do they coincide at all?
No, unfortunately they don't, which makes it kind of interesting because I will sometimes fly to a client site and then from that client site fly to a tournament and then fly back to the client site to do more work and then fly home. Sometimes I drive doing that. It's just that stretch of 3 months with the CDC when I was putting a tournament in here and there plus playing the CDC plus traveling for work. I don't remember being home during the summer. I just don't.
Wow. That's a lot of traveling.
It is a lot of traveling.
It doesn't wear you out, huh?
Well, I mean, you and I discussed before how I was with the Royal Caribbean for 2.5 years. I would be gone for 45, 60 days at a time. So and I've always been a consultant, so I've pretty much always traveled my entire life. It's kind of second nature.
The photo we're showing of you resembles Budapest.
It is Budapest. I was one of my friends who is an IT manager on one of those ships is from Hungary, and he was on his 2-month leave and invited me out there to be with him. So I was out in Budapest. It was a blast. Beautiful place.
Well, it's I don't know. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
I can't really. Your head's obscuring the most of
the street.
The street, but do you have any more questions for James? We could
go
on
my last
all day for this.
Your last question was going to be my next question. So
was what
his travel plans and what he was doing for the next year. So
yeah, 30 tournaments. Well, I don't know. That is pretty ambitious.
That's ambitious. I know.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, I mean, I was jokingly going to one of the awards we were going to give out was the Perfect Attendance Award and give it to your buddy because he seemed to go to every tournament there was. I don't know.
Do you have goals as in, where you would like to finish? What would make you? Obviously, everybody wants to win, but what would make it a successful season for you?
I think for me, learning how to play in that short format is really my goal for 2016. When I started with the CDC and the tournaments, what was really cool was there was a standard progression, a measurable one. Every weekend, I finished a little bit better all the way to the last weekend. I had a top 32, a top 16, a top 8, and then I skipped the top 4 and went right to top 2. Every weekend I had a progression. And that's what I really want to see with, again, for the lack of a better term, normal tournaments. I want to see some progression where I'm consistently just playing better and finishing better and handling, adversity. Once you get down against a good player, you're down one leg in 0-1, playing best of 3, and he's got the throw.
Yeah,
that's a tough situation to be in.
Well,
so
yeah.
That's what I want to learn to do. I want to learn how to handle those types of situations, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so aggressive with my timeline. Because I've only got, if I'm lucky enough to be a Larry or a Martin or a Phil and get to 60, that's only 12 years to do this. So I've got a finite amount of time where I want to do some really cool things.
Well, I like the way he's got it kind of all mapped out. If you listen to our early shows, the secret to the short format is win the diddle. Seriously.
Right.
I mean, you win the diddle and your odds just go way, way, way up.
Well, sure. But he's talking about, okay, you don't win the diddle and learning how to overcome that.
Well, it's
right.
you break the guy's throw. You throw a 12-darter. I mean,
is there
hope he doesn't throw one too.
Is there somebody out there, friend or foe, nemesis, that you just really want to beat?
Oh, he's a friend.
Oh,
Larry Butler.
Oh,
I have never beaten Larry Butler in a tournament situation in singles.
Really? Well,
and I've probably played against him at least 24 times.
I will tell you from experience, it's more fun beating him in 0-1 than it is in cricket. I got more out of that.
Okay.
I don't have a preference. I would just like to win one against Larry. Larry and I just set up for a Darts Live League together today. We just set up for Darts Live League together. So we play together, and we see each other all the time because we live an hour away from each other. So,
and you've known him all the way back since the 80s.
I've known him back since he was playing and got the world championship and all that. Yeah.
Okay.
Was he bald then? Did he have hair?
Yes, he was just as bald then.
Was he? Okay. I wonder because I wasn't around then. So I mean, you see old pictures and stuff like that. I just, was curious.
One quick question from the chat: will you be chasing BDO points?
Yeah, I was going to ask that. If do you have a strategy? Because this is what Soldier Gates did really wrong. Was when he started going on the road and he went to all the wrong tournaments, and it cost him a shot at Lakeside. And I don't think he really realized, okay, if you want to qualify for Lakeside, these are the tournaments you must go to. And I had guys from New York, like in early January, asking me for the list because they couldn't find them online. And the same thing, chasing ADO points gets you nothing. So right. I would say don't do that. But the BDO points are probably, if you're going to go to all the tournaments, you may as well just, you mentioned Virginia Beach, and I don't know if Huntsville is one, but, Nashville is one. All the BDO ranked 501 events, you should hit those as well. Because
those are the 3 in February, yeah. Those are the 3. So basically my structure is, I want to do NAPDA sanctioned events first because those coincide with the CDC and how you're seated and ranked from the men's pro ranking in those events. So those are priority number 1.
Yeah, see, I would argue that, but I can see what you're saying.
Yeah. No, I mean, because the CDC is, there's nothing that's going to stop me less being dead that's going to get me to those events.
Well, right.
So it makes sense to make the NAPDA sanctioned events a priority. And then secondly, it's BDO. The 3 tournaments in February are all BDO. And I'm just looking down that calendar and going, okay, so this is sanctioned, this is sanctioned. I mean, if I've got to choose between a CDC event and a BDO event, I'm going CDC.
Well, okay, I'm a little confused. Obviously, you're going to play all the CDC events. And if I remember from last year, there weren't any conflicts. And it was kind of good that they weren't running events in February because, February and March and January have been very crowded lately. But it seems to me an NAPDA sanctioned event doesn't really get you anything. Whereas, if you really want to do something cool, I would say playing at Lakeside is cool, right?
Yeah, I know. I won't argue that point.
So I would say, you do all the BDO ranked events that you can, and then play the CDC, and then fill in, whatever happens to be available on an open weekend. You know what I mean? So, like you go play WADA or something.
Logic.
Sorry?
I guess I kind of understand the logic, but again, it comes down to when I get to a CDC event, how do I want to approach that event? I want to approach that event being seeded in the top 16.
Well, yeah. Well, you do that by, beating guys. I mean,
You do that by NAPDA sanctioned events, your men's pro rankings.
Oh, to get seeded. I know, but okay. Well, if you want to be seeded in the top 16 and you win the first two CDC events, aren't you going to be in the top 16? Because the NAPTA thing goes back 2 years. I think I'm still ranked. I haven't played.
Yeah.
So,
but if you hold your tour card and you're in the top 16 of the tour card holders, and your rank is in the top number of NAPDA Pro Men's rankings, you get a top 16 seed into the main event on Saturday, and it's all based on how the numbers come out. Now, I don't know if they plan on changing that this year. I haven't heard anything about it, but the CDC points that you earn during the season don't change your seeding. At least they didn't last year.
Yeah, see, this is the thing that they did that I thought was like a huge mistake. And it's this legacy kind of effort that keeps screwing things up. Because it seems to me that if you have a closed circuit of events, that should determine your ranking. Mm-hmm. That's what the PDC does.
Right.
That's why they have more than one order of merit. So the CDC now, because you've been around for a year and you played a whole year of events in 2015, the top 16 people that played in the CDC this year should be the top 16 people seeded. Now, if they don't do it that way, then what you're doing is you're diluting the value of your own events by including events willy-nilly. Like, oh, okay, yeah, we're going to sanction this one, and we're going to sanction that one, and we're going to sanction this one. None of that makes any sense to me. Like, you want to run a Q school to get into a CDC event, that makes perfect sense to me. But if I can qualify for a CDC event by not going to a CDC event and instead going to some NAPTA sanctioned thing, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, I get it.
Yeah, if that's what they're doing, I mean, that's the source of my confusion with your plan. So, I didn't realize that they were going to sanction other events that were going to help you get your CDC ranking, and because the BDO events, what's at the end of the line is Lakeside, right? And that's something new. That's only been the last couple years. Sorry,
they're not sanctioning the events. They're just using the NAPDA Men's Pro ranking as the seeding qualifier. That's all.
And they need to stop doing that, and they need to start doing it by the results on their own tour. Why should they seed based on something somebody did 2 years ago that is totally unrelated to what you're doing now?
I don't argue the point. I can't argue the point. I can tell you that I know at the end of the year, as a matter of fact, at the Continental Cup, there were some discussions about how the seeding is going to work moving forward. And I'm sure they've had discussions about it. It's just not something that's going to come out as public knowledge.
Right.
I don't know that the top 16 from last year are the ones that get it this year or not. I'm not sure what they're doing. I'm sure that eventually, once we have that strong base of players, that they're going to look at another way of doing. I got to believe so because your logic is sound.
Yeah, it usually is.
Please don't say that. Don't say that to him.
I know.
I don't know about that.
I know why they're trying to include the NAPDA rankings. I mean, I understand why they want to do it. They just shouldn't. We just traded Starlin Castro. My girlfriend is distraught. It had to be done. Sometimes you have to do things that you wish you wouldn't have to because, you like the people involved and all this other stuff.
People wish they would have traded him 2.5 years ago.
My point is that, from a business standpoint, when you're trying to create something and run it right, you face decisions that you really wish maybe you wouldn't have to make. But if you don't make them, your product suffers. right? Apple fired Steve Jobs at one point and then realized it was a mistake and brought him back. I mean, this happens all the time in the real world. You live in the real world, don't you, James, sometimes?
Most of the time.
Most of the time? I mean, you know,
Most
and then anyway, I don't want to get off on a rant or anything like that. And
well, let me just finish with this then. I can tell you this much. What I've learned from the CDC from year one, going into year two, and a 3-year one, is that these guys are terribly passionate about making it successful, and they listen to the players. The players are a part of this, not just somebody showing up and just to play darts and earn money. The players have a voice in this. They gave us a voice in this, and I thought they did a pretty good job of listening to us. And we'll see, you know, and after the Continental Cup, we'll see how that works. And they listen to us about venues. They listen to us about many things, even at the Continental Cup. So I have no doubt that these guys, and they're smart guys, so I have no doubt that these guys are going to just continue to make good decisions and listen to the people that want to make this successful, because they're not the only ones that want to make it successful. We're all excited. We all want this thing to get bigger. We want this thing to be, you know, $100,000 tournaments. And wouldn't it be great? Probably not my lifetime, but wouldn't it be great that this is the seed for something that turns out to be what could be a professional circuit in the United States? Wouldn't that be fabulous?
yeah, we've been talking about it for a long time, about how cool it would be, and you know, I'm all for it. You know, it sounds good to me. I mean, I tried to play it last year, and I'll try to play it this year most likely, but I haven't decided on schedules yet. The Vegas Open, you realize that the last few years, the payouts on the men's singles were like 44% of the entry fees? Does stuff like that bother you?
No, the money. Here's the thing. I don't let the money bother me. I don't think about it. I want to play darts. It's money. Money back then was an issue. Now it's not. I don't think about it. I'm not worried about trying to get sponsorship. I'm not trying to do anything but just play darts and play the best darts I can. That's all I really care about.
That's probably by far the best attitude you could possibly
For sure.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, seriously, because, you know, I got distracted by a lot of this stuff, and that's why I don't go to Vegas anymore, and I would go every year. So,
Right.
I mean, miss out on a snowstorm in Chicago and go to Vegas, I mean, yeah, was always a good week.
Funny, I'm sorry, I listen to all these people that they complain about, you know, the payouts are getting worse, the tournaments are being run fast, this and that and the other. I'm like, but you're going to a dart tournament. You know, going to the dart tournament, all of these things exist. Why go if you're going to just complain about it the whole time? So I just don't care about any of it. I go, I wait for my turn to be called. I go, I play darts, and if I win, I win. If I lose, the thing that I hate is when I don't play well and I haven't learned anything from it, or I haven't learned what I need to learn from it, or I mean, that's what it's about. I just want to play. I want to get better. I told you I'm a dual citizenship. I'm a member of the EU. I could live in Europe and get a job. I don't need a work visa. My job transports over. I'd love to be able to go over and play in the BDO. I'd love to get my average to where I'm consistently hitting 90, 92, 94, and just chuck up and leave.
Oh, you need to get it up higher than that.
Well, I think that would be a good point to where I can go over there and I think there's certain things you need in your game, and playing against people that are at your level that's going to push you is one of them. And it's very, very hard to find somebody that's averaging 90, 92 consistently.
He's got a point there.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're talking about, you know, it's a big country and everyone's spread out.
Well, but the thing is if you're consistently throwing 92, 94, and your opponents are throwing 78s, you're not going to throw 92s and 94s.
No, you're going to fall asleep.
Yeah,
it happens all the time.
Right. I get what you're saying. If you could consistently throw 92, 94s, and you could go over, hop over to the pond and play guys that will match you and be better, that will improve your game. I agree.
I think that there's probably... Go ahead.
My goal is not to go over there, instantly start playing tournaments and trying to kick everyone. That's not what it's going to be. My goal is to go over there and play darts and continue this thing that I have, where all I'm trying to do is improve and look for those improvements and adjust, find out where my flaws are, continue to work on it. That's really what it is. And at some point, hopefully I get it up into that 97, 98, 100 range where I can really compete at that level.
Yeah, I think you could do it. I think that there's like a lot of guys that if they put their minds to it and they had enough opportunities to play, which is one of the reasons I thought the CDC was good. I think that they could get their average up to 100.
Right.
I mean, I remember, and we're going to have to wrap this up, James. So I just remember reading something when I first started playing darts about Dennis Priestley when they were asking him about, how did you know to be a pro? And he's like, well, you just play everybody. You play everybody in the county and stuff, and when you start, throwing 15 dart games, then you start taking it on the road, and that made really good sense to me. You've thrown tons of 15 dart games. It's just a matter of stringing them together all day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
And it really is that simple. I mean, I'm not trying to be flippant about it. I think you could do it. I think lots of guys could do it if they really concentrated on it, and probably you'd have to stop playing all this cricket.
Right.
Yeah,
no, seriously. I mean, you spend I don't know how much to go to a tournament, and half your time's playing cricket. I don't think that helps.
I would agree.
It's not going to help your 0-1 game.
Nope.
Anyway, congrats on being our 2015 Newcomer of the Year.
Thank you very much. I'm flattered.
I appreciate you coming on the show. I really enjoyed talking to you. Hopefully, we can get you back on next year, which is only a few weeks away.
I look forward to it.
We're always looking for a guest host when I want to take a week off. By the way, you might file that one away.
All right.
Okay.
I think I can step up to the plate.
I think you could. You got anything else for James? All right, we're going to wrap it up, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to James Kinney for calling in. And we'll dart talk to everybody next week. We're going to preview the World Championship.
Yep.
The William Hill World Championship of Darts. Thanks for listening again. We'll dart talk to you next week. Everybody take care.